что хотел тебе предложить. Ты хочешь быть эксклюзивно со мной?
15. Cash up front.
Deal.
Deal.
I adored this movie when I finally got to see it at Cannes, but I'd be curious to hear about your journey to it, because I know Red Rocket was sort of a pivot for you when you decided to produce that during COVID. And this was not the other movie that you were going to produce instead of that. So when did this story come to you, and why did you want to bring it to the screen?
Karren's been in every one of my films, and about 15 years ago, we were talking about telling a story in the Russian-American community of Brighton Beach and Coney Island, Brooklyn. But it took a long time to get there and to figure out what the plot would be. And I felt there was another story to be told about sex work, and from the research I had done. And so we applied that to our desire to shoot in that area. And that's really how it came about. It was, so it's a boring, convoluted story, but we got here.
No, it's not boring, convoluted story. I think the best part of it is the search for Anora, the search for Annie was such a central part of it. And I love the story of how you found Mikey and you knew that she was going to be it. But for you, Mikey, I'm curious, this has to be like a very scary moment. This is like intimidating when you first maybe got that script, but I'm curious, what was the most satisfying part of bringing Annie to life, and what was the most terrifying part that you got to face in the purpose of finding her?
I first met Sean, and he pitched me this idea for what the film might be, what kind of character I might be playing, and then he went off and wrote it, and I had never had a director want to write a film for me before, so I was very excited. I was overjoyed to be working with Sean because I was such a fan of his work. So I really have to say that I wasn't scared, I wasn't terrified of any aspect of playing this character or doing this film. I was just excited. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do my character justice. I wanted to represent sex work in an honest way, and so I think I was maybe scared of not getting that right. But I mean, there's been so many incredible moments making the film, and I think one of the most, you said satisfying, right? That was the word? Satisfying or just really joyous moment for me was we did a screening for sex workers here in Los Angeles, and to hear the reaction and the love that we received from that community was so meaningful to me. And so that, I would say, has definitely been a highlight.
Yeah, and check the internet if you haven't seen it. They actually take their pleasers, which are the clear heels that they wear, and they were using them to clack for applause, which was second to only your standing ovation here. I will say that. Mark, sir, I want to bring it to you because your character, let's just put it honest, he is so hilarious and so, I just think, watchable. But it was a delicate balance what you and Mikey had to do together. It was the romance, it was the comedy, and then when things go off the rails towards the end, it was literally like this huge slapstick, broad comedy moment. What was the part of your character that you were most excited to portray?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this question. There are two questions, honestly.
I mean, yeah, what was the best part? What was the most exciting? Put it together.
The whole this adventure was the most exciting part of this adventure, I want to say. Yes, because I know this journey, it's maybe one of the most incredible things that ever happened with me in my life, because you know how it feels when you are in the one frame with the Mikey Madison? It's crazy. It's just, it's a huge pleasure to be there. You don't have to play anything. You just can see your eyes and just okay, let's make some fun together. Yeah, it was crazy, and Sean Baker and the rest of the team. It's an amazing crew, and it was just big pleasure, and very excited every day to go on the set.
Vache, for folks that don't know, you're a very accomplished comedian in your own country, and I love that you brought that comedy to this one. But you're almost like a serious man. You're almost like the one that...
Almost,
I know. You still get your laughs. But for you, sort of stepping into this production, those comedic beats, especially with also the physical activity of you had this honey badger and Mikey fighting you. How did you sort of approach your performance? Because I don't think folks would know that, you know, you haven't done as much work like this.
Yeah, the comedy part was the easiest for me. I was trying to not overdo it, you know, like 'cause sometimes you do comedy on purpose, but thanks Yura and thanks to Karren, they were helping me a lot. I was asking, am I doing too much here? Maybe I'm trying to be funny specifically, but I hope that worked out well. Yeah, I used to do comedy in Armenia for 16 years, but that was on Armenian and for Armenians. And when my manager called me and he said, Sean Baker, want to talk to you about character, I was like, is this a joke? Or like, and when he called me, he's like, hey man, I've seen your comedy, that was very good. I was like, why would you watch that? I mean, it was, and then he explained me that Karagulian suggested you for the second Armenian character, and I start browsing Karren, and I see on social media he texted me like 5 years before that, and I didn't even reply, and I was like, oh, I'm just about to screw my once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you know, and I texted him back, sorry for slight delay, I said. And then he called me back, he helped me a lot, like do the tape, self-tape and everything, and yeah, thanks to this super talented man, I'm the part of the magic, I'm a part of it, and thanks Sean for trusting me, of course.
Thank you.
I mean, we have Christopher Nolan and Michael Caine. We've got Marty and De Niro. And we've got Sean and Karren. Like, this is a partnership that is going to be written. Don't smile. It's happened. I was that can. We know. But for you, Karren, what was it like with this one? Because I think it is the most unique Sean Baker production. There's so many things he did that stretched himself in this one. And so what was that like for you, having been on all of his films, to see this moment and then have it be so well received?
I'm very lucky to have watched Sean from the days when he was a little boy. I watched Maestro develop with every project. He just, I don't know how he does it, but he's been a walking encyclopedia of film all his life from those days. But he's constantly working on himself, and from film to film, you can see how he matures, and he's a perfectionist, so he always wants to make everything perfect. This time around, he was a little bit more, I have to admit, a little bit more demanding. So, for example, a scene, he would say, you have to go in to the scene in Armenian, make the turn in Russian, come out of it in English. Your left hand is doing that, this and that, but on the same time, I want the train to be passing by right behind you. So, but we were so appreciative of that, and I hope that that translated to the screen and people feel it.
Mikey, ma'am, we can talk about, the walking you do in them heels. We can talk how you embody this person who has been through everything that she has been through. But the thing I want to most talk about is the scene where you whoop up on these gentlemen right here. Because that was such great writing, because you found out who she was as a character in that moment, because obviously doing what she's done, she's maybe been put in dangerous situations. I'd love for you to talk about that bit of this was an action scene, but there was so much character stuff going on in that moment, and how because she was not backing down, and you don't get that unless you've maybe been in situations where you did back down.
Yes, to me, Annie is someone who I wanted to be very scrappy. I think it's certainly not her first fight, but probably her first with multiple grown men. And I wanted her to fight really hard and really dirty. And so I also did all my own stunts in the film. And so it was important for me to fight as hard as I possibly could. And Yura was very dedicated to wanting to do his own stunts as well. And so jumping into those scenes with him was so exhilarating and exhausting, and just really interesting as an actor to be able to experience what your character's going through in those really intense moments. And obviously to Annie, it's an incredibly serious situation, but Mikey, as the actress who was playing her, I was aware of the absurdity of some of it, and so I was able to play with that in a really interesting way.
Yeah, you've seen some Best Actress performances this year, but did they do it on clear heels? That's all I have to say. Did they do it on clear heels? Sean, I'm going to leave it to you at the end because you have met Annies, you have met versions of every character that's sort of been in all of your films. What do you hope that audiences take away from this? Because again, I just look at the details in which you wrote these folks. I hope that this one, it hits a little bit different than some of your other ones as far as what I think you're hoping audiences take from it.
Oh, well, thank you. I never want to preach. I feel that that's when you do that, you're basically alienating people who might not be on the same page or agree. I'm trying to, tell these individual stories. And with Annie's story, Annie feels like hopefully, a fully fleshed out, three-dimensional character that, you guys can root for and have empathy for. And I think that is, if there's a goal behind these films, I think it's to help chip away at the very unfair stigma that's applied to sex work through, these fleshed out characters. Hopefully we are achieving that.
Mark, I'm going to give you sort of the last question on this one because I think it's one of the funniest ones. How many drunk people did you have to stumble over when y'all shot that moment in Vegas? Because I know that y'all did that actually on the Strip, and again, organized chaos. So talk about that day if you don't mind, sir.
It was crazy. It's crazy. It was my first time at Real Casino, first time. And I thought that it will be, very funny and people and just, having fun and doing something, drinking champagne and, taking money from these machines. No, it's like horror movie. People are sitting, against this machine, and it's like from Harry Potter, and Dementors there suck this energy from people like this. And I was like, no way. And Vache said, do you want to gamble? And I said, no way, man. You don't want to gamble. Nobody will gamble with me. Yes, and we lose all of Vache's money there after this dialogue. Yeah. Yeah, but it was a big pleasure to work in Las Vegas, really. It was easy to...
And lose my money.
Yeah. With Vache's money, yeah.
He has not learned the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas motto yet, but I appreciate your retelling, sir. I really do. Thank you all for an absolute incredible film. I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.